Hello Junior Tuckies, I am Mrs. Breedenkamp, and in this lesson I'm going to be discussing finite verbs, auxiliary verbs, and linking verbs. Let's get into it. The first question we should always ask ourselves is, what is a verb? I'm sure you've been asked this question many times. Verbs are action or doing verbs. And a few examples are running, crying, laughing, and the list goes on. An example of a verb in a sentence would be, I ate my sandwich for lunch, or I wrote down the homework in my diary. Verbs also describe a state of being. Now I know this sounds confusing, but just sitting, listening to this lesson, you are being. So our very existence is a verb. A verb is one of the main elements of a sentence. Without a verb, we can't do anything. So in this lesson, I'm going to be covering the finite verb, the linking verb, and your auxiliary verbs. The first verb we are going to look at is the most important verb of them all, the finite verb. We can call this the heart of the sentence because without this verb in a sentence, the sentence does not make grammatical sense. By using a finite verb, a sentence can stand on its own. A finite verb has three elements which include the subject, a number, and a tense. So you can use the acronym SNT to check if there is a finite verb in a sentence. So you need to ask yourself the questions. Is there a subject in my sentence? What number does the subject have? Is it singular or is it plural? And finally, what tense is your verb in? Let's practice with this example. The girl ran across the field to help her friend. So let's look at this sentence over here. What is the subject? The girl. So we already have a subject. What is the number? Is the girl singular or is it plural? It's singular. And what's the tense? It's in past tense because the girl ran across the field. So by using this checklist of SNT, we can find out that the girl ran or ran is the finite verb. Let's have a look at more examples on the next slide. Let's look at more examples. The girl waited for her mother to finish speaking. Now, does this sentence have a subject? Yes, the girl. Does it have a number? Is it plural or is it singular? The girl is singular. And does it have a tense? What tense is waited in? Waited is in past tense. So therefore, waited is the finite verb of the sentence. Then, the towers collapsed after being hit by an aeroplane. Do we have a subject? The towers. Is it plural or is it singular? In this case, it is plural, more than one tower. And what tense is it written in? Collapsed is in past tense. So therefore, the finite verb is collapsed. Then they ran across the road before the robot turned green. What's the subject over here? They. What is the number? Is it a plural or singular? They means more than one, so therefore it is plural. And ran, what tense is ran in? It's in the past tense. So therefore, ran is the finite verb in the sentence. Auxiliary verbs can be called helping verbs. This is because auxiliary verbs help complete our finite verb. They do this by giving the verb tense, and it also helps us ask who or what is performing the action in the sentence. Examples of auxiliary verbs are am, is, was, being, and the list goes on. Please refer to the next slide to see all of the different types of auxiliary verbs and the tenses. Now, let's look at an example in a sentence. She was sitting in her room. Sitting in the sentence is a verb. However, one cannot say she's sitting in her room. That doesn't sound grammatically correct. We need to add was to the sentence to give the sentence the correct tense and for it to make grammatically correct sense. She was sitting in her room. You can also use the finite verb checklist to see where the finite verb is in the sentence. A hint: a finite verb can be more than one word. Remember, an auxiliary verb is helping give our finite verb tense. Another way to remember an auxiliary verb is to think of an auxiliary cable that one would use in their car to help make their phone sound louder. We often plug in the aux cable in our cars to help our music penetrate through the car. We also use an auxiliary verb to help give our verb tense. This is a list of all the different types of auxiliary verbs you may encounter. Take note of how an auxiliary verb changes with its tense. What are linking verbs? Linking verbs are verbs that don't show an action but actually describe the subject. So the only action they show is merely existing, so being. Linking verbs simply explain the state of the subject. It often connects more information about the subject to the verb. So for example, I am a teacher. He seems joyful today. This place looks like a mess. Sensory verbs like appear, look, feel, smell, sound, or taste can act as linking verbs when they describe the subject. So for example, dinner smells delicious. The cat's fur felt silky. Her hands feel rough. He sees her mistake. Here is a list of the different types of common linking verbs. Firstly, we have permanent linking verbs like be, become, or seen. Our sensory linking verbs appear, feel, look, smell, sound, and taste. And then conditional linking verbs like act, come, fall, go, keep, remain, turn, constitutes equal, get, grow, prove, or stay. Have a look at this table of how many forms there are of the linking verb to be. Now remember, being is a verb. Being here, sitting here, just your very existence is a verb. So use this table to be able to change these linking verbs to their new form. This table explains the various forms of to become as linking verbs. Use this in future. Here are examples of linking verbs. I am a doctor. Am is telling us more about me being a doctor. My name is Susan. Is over here is linking Susan and my name, telling us more about Susan, the subject. There are my favorite pictures. Oh, these are my favorite pictures. This is connecting these, the pictures that are lying in front of the person, and my favorite pictures. So the R over here is telling us more about these favorite pictures. The sky was grey. Grey is telling us more about the sky. Was is linking these two parts of the sentence together. They were very ambitious for their children. So were over here is telling us more about they. What were they? They were very ambitious for their children. The diamonds appeared to be genuine. So appeared over here is linking the idea of diamonds and looking as if they are genuine. Pollution from cars has become a major problem. So once again, linking this major problem to the pollution from cars. Then, I feel awful about forgetting her birthday. This feeling or feel is linking yourself or I to why you feel bad. Why do you feel bad? For forgetting her birthday. Business has been bad this year. Has been is linking business to being bad this year. How to spot a linking verb. Firstly, identify the verb. Secondly, is it a linking verb? Does it indicate a sense of being or a type of sense, your 5 senses? Then, number 3, replace suspected linking verb with a true linking verb like is, are, am, etc. and then see if it works out. So, for example, the flowers looked wilted. Looked over here is a linking verb. Let's look at the next sentence. She looked for wildflowers. Now, looked is not connecting the two sentences over here. And so, therefore, looked in the second sentence is not a linking verb. The flowers are wilted. This is a linking verb. But if we look at the next sentence, she are for wildflowers, because I am replacing are over here. It really doesn't make sense whatsoever, so it is not a linking verb. Alright, Junior Tuckies, that's it for today's lesson. I really hope you understand finite, auxiliary, and linking verbs a little bit better. Goodbye!